Well, hello everyone, I hope that you're doing very well. You may have noticed that I've been a bit absent for YouTube over the past couple of weeks, but uni happened. I started uni again on the 3rd of October and it's been quite intense. I've really been enjoying it. I've been loving my classes and I kind of talk more about it in an upcoming vlog that I have. But before I started sharing anything else again, I really wanted to share this video and kind of conclude my September painting series. If you didn't know, if you're new here, hi, my name is Sara, first of all, but I did a daily life painting challenge in January and then again in September, which I've been sharing through a series of videos. So if you've missed those will be linked in the cards in the description for you to check out. But this is the last week of paintings, so it includes the last 8 paintings of the month. I finished the challenge. Very proud of myself for doing so, because it was an intense month. I had 2 exams. I had my last exam that week actually, but I did a lot of paintings that I'm really proud of. So yeah, I just wanted to start the video on kind of that happy note, because I am really proud of myself and I think it's really important to acknowledge your accomplishments when you do something cool, and I think this was very cool. Anyways, I'm rambling. I want to talk a bit more about my process because I always think that's very interesting, and I think I receive a lot of comments saying that you guys enjoy that as well, so that's what I'll be doing in this video. It might get a bit repetitive, but I think, I don't know, each painting has its own peculiar stages, and I did these a couple weeks ago, so my thoughts are not as fresh as they were when I first did these and when I recorded the other videos, but still I'm gonna try to remember as best as I can. Also, I just wanted to mention there are 4 oil paintings in this video, which I honestly adore, and then there are 3 digital sketches which I also really enjoy, and I talk more about why I've been experimenting with digital sketches as well, I think in week 3's video. But basically, when I didn't have a lot of time when I was kind of finishing this challenge because I had my exam that week, and so I was finding myself having to paint later on at night quite a bit, and I just don't like painting in artificial light. The colors always turn out really weird, and I find that doesn't happen as much with digital sketches. And so even though I'm not a digital artist and I don't think I'm very good at it, it was a nice occasion to experiment with it. I really enjoyed it, and I actually really like the results that came out of it. So here I was at home at my parents' place for a couple of days, just for the weekend, and my mum got herself this new plant that I absolutely love the look of. I love this glass vase. I gifted it to her a couple years ago, and I just love the colors, and I put it on a nice deep blue background, though you'll see it's just coming in now. And I was really interested to see how I would be able to sketch in and paint that glass effect, because reflections are something that I've played with a lot in this September series, I would say, and it's something that I've never painted before digitally, and so it was very interesting, and I actually really love the effect of how it came out. I think the color palette is immaculate. I would love to experiment more with this deep blue background. I don't use a lot of blue in my paintings, but I've been trying to use them more and more to just make things more dynamic, and I think it's been working really well, and I love the effect that I had in this case. So definitely something that I want to try transferring onto my traditional paintings as well. And then you might remember one of the first paintings I did in the series was a painting inception. I included 2 of my January paintings in the painting itself, and I decided to do it again, this time digitally, because honestly I was running out of ideas, and so I just thought I would put some of the paintings that I like most on against my wall and sketch those out. Also, I wanted to mention, because you might see me do that in the speed paint sometimes, I put kind of a textured background on my digital sketches, which I've seen some artists do before. I definitely didn't come up with this myself, but I can't remember who exactly I copied this from, but I like the kind of paper texture effect, and it's just with a Procreate brush. So I make my background a solid color, and then I'll pick a slightly lighter or slightly darker color, pick that brush, I'll put the name on the screen, make that quite big, and then just sketch that all over the canvas, and that makes the background a bit more textured. And I feel like since I'm so used to painting traditionally and to sketching traditionally, a motorcycle just went by underneath my window. Sorry if you could hear that. I think I'm very used to working with a lot of texture, and I really like texture in my paintings in general. It's something that I focus a lot on when it comes to oil painting as well, and it's why I love oil painting so much. And so I think this really helps me feel a bit more comfortable when it comes to digital painting as well. And then, like, this was just kind of my setup. As you can see, a bunch of paintings against the wall. I actually really like these ones. And you can see the process of me painting them in previous videos in the series. And then more oil painting. This is one that I have very contrasting feelings about. I like it, but I also don't like it. I think the composition was cool, but it was maybe a bit too much. It might have been a bit too messy, and I'm not so happy with the color palette that I ended up going with. So as always, I start with a very basic burnt sienna sketch. When I did this challenge in January, I used to sometimes tone my panel, like all of the panel, with a burnt sienna wash, and then I would sketch things in. That's something that I haven't been doing in this case because, one, it takes longer. Two, I kind of got a bit tired of the burnt sienna showing through at a certain point, and I feel like when you just do the sketch and you don't tone the whole canvas, it doesn't show through as much, and it's just a look that I've been preferring lately. So that's why I didn't do it, in case you were wondering. I talk about underpaintings every once in a while, and it's definitely a very useful tool. But in this case, I was painting quite a hurry every day, like I didn't have a lot of time for it. And if you can be quite meticulous and actually be strategic about like the colors that you use for your underpaintings, I think it can be a very powerful tool to also make your paintings more dynamic. But I just didn't really have the mental space to think about that as well, and that burnt sienna underwash was getting a bit on my nerves, so I didn't do it this month. It just came to mind seeing myself use the burnt sienna to sketch things out, so I thought I'd mention it. But yeah, again, going in with a very fairly solid light grayish wash, which I think worked well in a lot of paintings, but in this case the whole painting is quite warm toned, and I think it doesn't have as much contrast as I would like it to have. And I also think that there's a certain point where I really liked it, and then it sort of got all a bit mushed up together, and things are not as defined as I would like them to be in certain areas. I think the focus isn't necessarily where I would have liked it to be, and so I don't think this was a particularly successful painting. But you know, painting so much, clearly you can't have all successes, and I'm still very happy with the piece. I actually really like the textures in this one, but yeah, I just think it could have been a bit more well defined in certain areas, if you will. Then we're moving on to day 27. This was the day of my exam, I think, and I just went on to doing another digital sketch because I had my exam later in the afternoon, so came home and I was quite kind of burnt out by it. But I love this sketch. Honestly, one of my favorites from the challenge, even though I also really enjoy it. I like various stages throughout and not necessarily just the end result. I think if you're a painter, you definitely know this, and if you're an artist of any kind, pieces usually go through a variety of stages, and there may be multiple ugly stages, quote unquote, and there may be multiple stages where you maybe look back at your painting and you're like, I wish I stopped there because that was so much better than the end result. Honestly, I like this painting both at the end and throughout. When I posted this on Instagram, I posted a few snapshots of it as well. This was one of the stages that I loved. Very simple colors. This is one of my favorite color palettes, the green, the orange, and the peach, and the light yellowish white. And then, you know, as I go on, I just really enjoyed, but I'm also really happy with the final result. I think There's a good mix of looseness and texture. The color palette is great. I think color palette is something that really, really makes or breaks a painting for me. And yeah, I'm really proud of this one, actually. For someone that doesn't paint digitally a lot or at all, really, I think I did some really nice pieces this month, and it's something that I should maybe experiment with a bit more. I don't find it as satisfying as traditional painting, but it's a lot of fun anyways every once in a while. And I have to say, these are a lot quicker than my traditional paintings. These were mostly anything digital I did that month was like at most 20 minutes, I would say. Oil paintings took at least 20 minutes, so quite a bit longer, but it's a very different process. But I think that's a lot to learn from both. And then I bought myself flowers to kind of celebrate the good result that I had in my exam, because I was very proud of myself. And so clearly I had to paint the flowers, because that's a very logical leap in my mind. Orange flowers, orange and red are like my two favorite colors. Orange flowers, love them. Like the orange, red, green combo is probably my favorite color combination ever. And I still find flowers really hard to paint. I've practiced them a multitude of times, definitely not enough. It will never be enough practice, but sometimes I feel like I'm getting better at them, and then sometimes I just feel like I don't know how to approach them, or I get to a certain point where they look good and then I overwork them, or I don't work on them enough, even though that's not usually what happens. Like it happens the least. I don't know what happens when I'm painting them. Painting is very intuitive for me. I say this a lot, I think, but I don't think as much as I would like to when I'm painting, but then I also like the fact that painting is very mindless for me, because I don't know, it's kind of therapeutic in a way. It's difficult to explain, and this is not the right video to try and do that in. But anyways, it was a really fun painting process anyways. I love the colors that I used. Again, this color palette is just amazing. I think I was struggling with being able to get my darks dark enough, and to not, while I was doing that, not kind of mix everything up. That's something that I still struggle with oils with sometimes, where I'm afraid of like going in at a certain point, because I'm afraid that everything is just going to mush together, because it definitely does happen. And also at this point I just found myself relying a lot on white backgrounds. Admittedly, I was just like putting objects in front of a white wall, painting from life. Obviously I would do a white background, but I think it could have been really fun to experiment with like more colored backgrounds as well, or at least, I don't know. Yeah, I just think colored backgrounds would have been fun to have more of throughout. And then this painting, I got some tomatoes to make tomato soup, and I just love the colors. This was my second tomato painting I'd done that month. Definitely not as successful as the first in terms both of like colors and composition, I would say. But admittedly, I did really, really like the other one, and I think the other one is definitely like a standout favorite. There's a lot of favorites, honestly, but this is one that I'm not entirely happy with. I think I got the reds right at a certain point, but I was also working with too much pink, not as much orange as I would have liked to, and then I sort of lost that brightness of the red. I think once you start working with white and like mixing white into your colors, then it's really, really hard to bring anything back and make it like nice and bright, and that's definitely something that I struggled with in this one. Even though I think from the video you maybe can't tell as much, you can maybe more tell with the green. I don't know why, I just couldn't mix like a nicely saturated green, and if I did, then I put it down on the panel and it just wouldn't look good. I really honestly don't know what happened with this. In this case, maybe a darker background would have helped to like make the colors feel brighter with like some extra highlights, but I don't quite know. I think at this point I just didn't really have the mental capacity to do many more experiments, if I'm being entirely honest, because it really takes that out of you. It's a great way to develop ideas and try things out, because you're forced to not think about things too much, and therefore you end up trying out new things. But also it's intense. And while I am really happy I did it, I know there are people that paint every single day, and I mean, they are professional artists, this is their job, I understand it, but also it can't be easy. Like, it's definitely not easy, and I don't know how they do. Moving on to the last painting. This is one I had to do at night because home at my parents' place again for the weekend. Yes, I do travel back and forth every week. You may have noticed that is a recurring thing in the series, but honestly, I forgot about it. I realized kind of later on in the evening, and I was like, this is the last day. I can't, not finish a challenge on the last day. I don't think you can tell too much. I don't think the light is as bad as I thought it would be. But I was using different oil colors because I keep a spare set of oil paints at my parents' house. And they are different colors from the ones that I'm typically using, so it's always a bit of a challenge to use them. The blue especially is very different, and the red as well. And I think the brown is a very transparent brown compared to the very pigmented ones that I'm used to using. So it's always interesting to work with them. But I had ordered some autumn candles, and I'd received them, and I just desperately wanted to paint them. It's a very, very, very messy sketch. Not my best work for sure, but there's a lot of texture going on. It was a lot of fun. It was a very quick one, but still, I finished the challenge at last, and I'm very proud of it. So I hope you enjoyed coming along and seeing the process for these ones as well. You can see pictures of them on my Instagram. At the moment, I haven't posted anything after this. Yes, it's been 2 weeks. I've been taking kind of a break from social media, and it's done me good. I've been painting for myself, but you'll see more of that in upcoming videos. For now, I just thank you so much for being here. Your support really, really does mean a lot to me, and I'm very grateful for you. These will be up in my shop very soon. Stay on the lookout for those. I will announce, when I put them up, both on Instagram and in a video at some point. And with that being said, thank you so much for your support again. I wish you all a very nice week, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye.